Right, Al, what is your clip for round one?
This is hilarious. This is ex-Newcastle United player Steve Howey talking about a training session gone wrong at Newcastle.
We had a training session under Aussie, and it was basically, it's called Shadowplay. He picks his 11 that's going to start on the Saturday or through the week, which it was then pretty much your goalkeeper of 4, 4 and 2. You've got a full-size pitch, you're playing against nobody, and you take the kick off, and what the emphasis of the session is basically just try and get some goals and then come back and start again. So Aussie has set us up in exactly the same way. We've took the kick off, passed it back to Lee Clark. Lee Clark's passed it back to Kevin Scott. Again, we're playing backwards and we should be going forwards because we ain't playing anybody. Kevin Scott gives it to Steve Watson, who's right back, and Steve Watson turns round and passes it back to Tommy Wright, who's in goal. Tommy Wright was putting his gloves on in the back of the net. The ball goes in the goal. We're getting beat 1-0. We ain't playing any fucker. And we were going through a really bad time at the time, and you could just see Ozzy just rocking with his hand. He's in his hands and he's going, "Fucking hell, boys, we're shit, man." We're getting beat 1-0 and we ain't playing anybody.
Oh my God, this made me laugh. The idea that you're doing shadow play, you haven't got an opponent. It is just you on the pitch, and yet you concede. You go 1-0 down to nobody. You may as well be playing a team of ghosts who can't kick a ball. And also there is sport in particular. I think life does in general, but sport in particular has a way of kicking you when you're down.
Yeah.
And they were in a relegation battle. It wasn't going well under Aussie Ardiles. You think it can't get any worse. And then you concede when you're not even playing an opponent. I don't know anything very much about Steve Howey. I just remember him playing, but he tells the story really well. Like I didn't see it come in and laughed my head off. The idea that Aussie Ardiles on the touchline, great player, fabulous career. He's just trying to impart his tactics on this Newcastle United team that are
bit of confidence,
bit of shadow play. And with his head in his hands as they concede because they don't go.
Imagine three back passes.
Such an odd choice, isn't it?
Oh, so funny.
How he says we're meant to be going forward. There's no opponent.
So weird.
Why is the keeper there anyway? Why is he putting his gloves on?
For the shadow play game.
Was he expecting a shot? Was he? He should have keeper considered because he's putting his gloves on. What the fuck's he putting his gloves on for? You're playing on a post.
You'd feel out of place, though, wouldn't you? You've got to get the gear on.
Yeah.
No, I'm with him on that. I feel odd.
So funny.
Shadow play is the one thing I've realised. I have my best games of football when we've had 2 dropouts and it's 4 aside on a 5-side pitch, or maybe 6 aside on a 7-aside pitch.
Okay.
Because you're under slightly less pressure, you've got more time with the ball.
Right.
So if you make a mistake, you've got time to fix it. I have my worst games if too many people turn up and we're playing 6 aside on a 5-side pitch, or sometimes 10 aside on a 7-aside pitch, when you just tackle immediately and there's no space.
Yeah.
So I always think shadow play would be the one thing I could do if I was ever asked to train with a professional football team. I reckon I could do shadow play.
Is it called shadow play?
No one is trying to tackle you. I think so, yeah.
Yeah. See, I brought back, not single-handedly or anything, but I loved unopposed rugby on it when I was playing rugby. So with the kids, we do lots of unopposed rugby.
Yeah.
We just blow the whistle, for rucks or tackles or whatever.
Okay.
Just to get that attacking flow and to get, people looking to spread the ball wide. So I imagine the same thing in football would be, are we going to push up as quickly as we can, get the ball wide, get used to trapping balls, first touch, all these sorts of things. Just to go back pass, goal. Imagine our dealers. He played for Argentina. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. He won a World Cup.
Yeah.
But I remember the first time I sort of heard
a top 10 single.
The first time I heard of shadow boxing.
Dottingham.
The first time I heard of shadow boxing, I just thought, why? I don't get it. And then when you see it, you go, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right, I understand this now. Yeah. You put that into practice, that works as a concept. I'm not sure shadow football works, does it?
I think it's to try and, especially if you're changing shape or if your shape during a game is bad and you're trying to sort that out. I think Tony Pulis used to do a lot of this kind of stuff.
Okay.
I remember, I think it was Gabs who played under Pulis. He said training was often boring because it was just shape.
Okay.
So I think it's part of that. I don't know if players enjoy it. I think I would love it because it sounds easy, but that's probably why I'm not a professional sports person or sportsman. But
you got easy training today, Tony.
Yeah. You take our foot off the gas.
You don't think, do you? When you think about professional sports people, like I used to dread pre-season because I knew I'd be throwing up and feel sick and be knackered, and it'd be really hard work mentally. You sort of see the finished product in the NFL or in the Premier League or wherever it might be, right?
Yeah.
You don't think of them in pre-season dreading it.
Yeah.
But they must do. They must think, oh shit, no, we're doing like a cardio session or we're doing a recovery session. It's going to be awful.
Also, I know it's the world's smallest violin when you're talking about feeling sorry for footballers, but they play too much football and they don't have enough time to recover. And that is just a fact. And now, especially if you're a top player in a Premier League team, you might have played for your country in a World Cup or a Euros. So then you get effectively a week off to spend with your family, and then you're back into pre-season where the training is even harder. So you never get a proper rest. It's not like NFL.
Well, look, I know Haaland's brilliant anyway.
Yes.
But that break that he had,
that
other people didn't have.
Yeah.
That's done him no harm whatsoever, is it?
It's like Salah has just played non-stop football for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Because if he's not playing for Liverpool, he's playing for Egypt.
Yeah.
And now, of course, clubs do lucrative pre-season games where you're expected to play your big stars. So it is, and obviously they're immensely well paid for it, but physically you can't do that.
Well, no.
Eventually something gives and you become injured, or you.
But at least in these days, if you play in the Premier League for 5 years, and you're astute with your cash, and you've got good financial advisors, you should be set for life, really.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Where in Dixie Dean's day, go back to that. You had to work you had to play your whole career.
Yeah.
Hope you didn't get an injury that stopped you working after you finished football, because you'd need to work for the next 30 years. You could not work.
Well, you were doing it for glory. When you decide, Alan Curtis's father was offered professional terms at Leicester, a big club, and he decided to work in a coal mine in the Rhondda because it was more secure, predictable work. And he thought, football, if I break my leg, what happens then? I won't even be able to work down the pit, which would be plan B anyway.
Yeah.
So I just think it is too much of a risk to become a footballer for Leicester City, and so I will work at a pit face. But even because Kurt's uncle was Roy Paul, who played for Man City in the 50s, a real great captain of Man City and played for Wales. So there was football in the family, and obviously Curtis went on to be a footballer. But his father looked at it, and in sort of the cold light today, thought, I've got a family. I can't afford to be a footballer. It's too risky. So Dixie Dean, even though he was a huge star, he was doing it to win cups and trophies. He wasn't doing it to set up himself. Like Gareth, a player like Gareth Bale or Ronaldo, their grandchildren won't have to work.
Did you see the photograph my mate Tony Smart, who's a patron, put up when he came back when he got released by Leeds at 18? He got signed by Barry Town. Came back, he's a Barry boy. And there's a great photograph he put from the paper of him and Kurt. They signed Kurt the same. Kurt was player manager.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, and there's like Tony's like 18, Kurt's like 36.
That's cool.
I said, class. Lovely.
They beat Cardiff City in the Welsh Cup final, didn't they, Barry, around that time?
Did they?
And I talked to Kurt about it once, and he said we had a lot of old pros, people who'd had really good careers in the Football League, who were ending their time at Barry. So when we played Cardiff, they were a young team in would it be probably in the 4th division? And he said it was a hot day. We were all good pros who were, past it. We just decided before the game, okay, because it's warm, let's just keep the ball. And we kept the ball and we won. They couldn't get the ball off us because they were experienced enough and good enough players that they could do that. And Cardiff couldn't lay a glove on them. I love that story.
Imagine being like a 30-year-old pro now who's had a 10-year professional football career.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking Barry Town. I'm a Barry Town boy, aren't I? But you just wouldn't happen now, would it? There's just the game has changed so much.
No.
So those clubs now would be, I suppose, ex-lower league footballers, young lads pushing up through.
Yeah.
And people who just weren't quite good enough.
Well, lads who were at that level. Yeah.
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 But to compare my two footballing heroes, Ian Rush, who at one stage was probably the best number 9 in the world and won the European Golden Boot and scored 47 goals, 346 goals, three of which were penalties. I mean, an absolute goal machine. And then Gareth Bale. Bale is retired at the very top. Ian, he played for Wrexham. He dropped down the divisions. He went to Newcastle, and he went to Leeds, and he went to Wrexham. You know, he was playing. I don't know how old Ian was when he quit. He may have been probably in his late 30s. He didn't score for Wrexham.
Did he not?
No, he didn't score once in that season.
I didn't know that.
So it's just, you know, Gareth obviously doesn't have to make that decision.
Yeah,
but,
that's true.
You know, because he can decide to finish. I mean, of course he could, if he wanted to, he could have. I mean, John Terry did this to an extent, didn't he? But I mean, he could have played for anyone and then maybe dropped down to the Championship and blah blah blah. But why, if you've made millions and you've won it all, why would you bother?
Well, yeah, there's no need, is it?
You prepared to love Gareth Bale a little bit more?
I'm always prepared to love Gareth.
So my mate Nick Bellamy, whose daughter just played for Wales rugby.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Got a cap at last, all good. So sent me a message and I said, do you mind if I share this with the boys? He said, no, of course you can. So, hi Bubs, I'm not sure if you've done the Gareth Bale special on the Distant Pod yet. I want to share my override memory of him. Just before Christmas 2013, my then 5-year-old daughter was rushed into hospital with a severe infection. She ended up at the Noah's Ark Children's Hospital and remained there over the Christmas period. About 6 o'clock on Christmas Eve, the nurse came into her room and asked her mum and I whether we'd be okay having a visitor. Imagine my surprise when Gareth walked in carrying presents. It transpires he visits the children's hospital every Christmas and hands out presents and engages with all the sick kids.
Oh.
He informed us he'd flown back from Real Madrid that morning and on the way back to Cardiff, stopped by in Toys R Us, spent a few grand on toys. He said he didn't publicise it as attending the hospital is not about him, but about raising the spirits of the sick kids and their families. Absolute class that, quite a take.
Wow.
I was like,
that's nice.
How nice is that?
That is nice.
Oh,
fair play to him.
What a flipping ledge. Thanks, Nick, for that. I'll put a little spring in my step reading that.
Right. Oh, we'll have to mention that again when we do the
Gareth Bale
special.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That is fantastic. That is superb.
Do you want a visitor? Oh, hello.
Oh, here he is.
Yeah, in 2013, when he was,
Yeah.
Obviously, he's a legend anyway, but I mean, he was the peak of his powers then, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Hi, Gareth.
Hi. I'm rubbish in situations like that, though. When you see someone out of context, or someone you're not expecting, I can't do it. I don't think of anything to say.
No.
I know what would happen if my kid was in hospital with the same thing, and somebody went, "Do you mind them having a visitor?" I'd say, "Well, not really. They're not very well." It's Gareth Bale. Yeah, that'll be fine. They're better now.
Yeah, they're fine. I'll give them some Calpol. Let them in. Have some Calpol.
With a fucking syringe.
Come on.
Smile.
Are you on 7.5 mils? I can never remember. Which one are you? How old are you?
Look happier.
Smile at the photo. I'm really, really ill, Dad. Gareth Bale.
It's great, isn't it?
We'll deal with your temperature when he leaves.
Now's not the time. It's Gareth Bale.
Listen, Dad needs this.
You ruined this photo. Dad is going to be sad with you.
I've had my Christmas ruined as well, okay?
I'm missing Mrs. Brown's voice for this.